bells. 8 bells, I wonder what that means.
Where?
Right there. Isn't that
It's Navy time, but I don't know what exactly 8 bells is. 8 bells. I put that over 2 bells, not underneath. Are you taking a picture, folks?
Well, I don't want mine in.
Hi, Chris, nice to meeting you here. I was stepping in and helping Lisa out with that one, and who else can I call?
Well, 1 o'clock, 2:30, yeah, so we still going to town, but I was walking, not behind the car, walking.
No, it's just as people pass away. As people pass away.
I got way more.
Oh, come on down.
Yeah, there's the box that he had is in here. They're just getting things for somebody that's just.
Come on down, we can because today's her birthday.
A little bit of procedural things here because we're with the government, but could I ask the first name of the immediate next of kin?
Joseph.
Joseph, okay.
Next to kids.
Julie.
Julie. Julie.
Yes.
Are you Julie? Oh, there you go. That's the next kin envelope with the sympathy letter from our director, gives
Do
you the
you
burial
need the
location.
deal that's in here, the paper?
No, we don't need any paperwork. That's only for caskets if you're talking about the transit permit.
Yes. So,
We have to attach RDC and identification to the urn, however, as part of our documentation that we got the right urn in the right place.
Yes.
So if I may, we have to take a photograph of it, and then once we place it, if you want to spin that to the inside, so it's not showing, but of course, once we clad it, you won't see it anyway.
You want it on the back or the front, Joe?
And Jolie, is that the full complement of remains that's in there? Okay.
Yes.
But you didn't keep any back? You didn't keep any back, like jewelry or anything else?
Yes,
just
I
a
did
little
leave
bit.
a little
Okay,
bit.
then we'll have to have you fill out a divided cremain statement, which we'll execute after the witness placement here. So we'll go ahead and take our photos.
Is there a napkin hang on there? Okay.
No.
Didn't you want his name?
I'm gonna
He
guess.
has to
Yeah,
take a
they're gonna
picture of it.
I'm gonna guess he had a John Deere tractor.
Oh, he had.
A
Yeah.
fellow.
All kind of.
About 30 tractors.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. If you ever went to the Covington Maple Valley parades,
Yep.
his tractors were in it. Joe's
Oh,
classic
wow.
tractor collection.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That was too cool. Tag photo remains photo pending. Joseph. Yeah, I think some of these critters like to talk to me when I come out here.
Yes, we do.
You wanna put this in there too, if you could?
Oh, absolutely, sir. See, we want to turn this tag around, right, so you're not seeing it?
Yeah.
See the tractor there. Keep the flag upright. It's not falling.
No, it might not
Actually,
work.
kind of like a casket. We can kind of drape it. It's actually draped over the tractor a little bit.
Yeah,
If that's all right.
Yes,
I like that.
that would be fine, thank you.
Sure. And folks, we have a moment for a prayer or song or reflection, and then we'd like to close it up, but you're welcome to stay all day after that. And,
So should we just close it up and then do our thing?
Yeah, we can, I guess.
I think.
That would be better.
Yeah,
Then
that
these
would be-
gentlemen are probably ready to go home now.
Well, we have other stuff we have to do, then we get to go.
And Julie, we just want to confirm, Sergeant in the Air Force. He
Yes,
passed on the 4th of September this year. We're placing him today on the 3rd.
yes.
Okay. And with your permission, I'll go ahead and close it at this time.
All right, ma'am, this is the paperwork. It's just saying you understand you can't bring those cremains that you have back for placement at a later date.
Oh, okay, yes.
Right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, they had us start doing that, I want to say a couple years ago, because we'd do a burial and someone would come back and say, okay, now I want to bury. And it's like, well, we already did the burial.
Well, we kept some of them, and after 10 years, we decided we want to place the rest of them here.
Oh,
Do that.
oh. Just need a special key to get in.
And this temporary marker will be on there. We're supposed to say up to 60 days. It's usually about 3 weeks.
All right,
But we don't want to promise that it's going to be 3 weeks. Sometimes we'll get the permanent marker in, and there might be a chip or some other defect, and we'll send it back if it's not perfect. But our phone number's in there. Just give us a call
all right.
about 3 weeks, say on Friday. 3 weeks Friday, starting from Friday, and we should have good news for you, I'm hoping. Our friend here, Chris, he's a military historian, but he could tell you too. When I served in the Air Force during the time frame when they actually had buck sergeants, like Joseph was, and they don't have them anymore.
Nope.
So that's one bond I share with Joseph, having not even met him. But it was, believe me, an honor and privilege to do this for you folks today, Julie and company.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you
And we'll move
very
along,
much.
and you folks take care. All the best.
All right,
you very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Well, go ahead and, Mike?
I'm Mike Stevens, my wife Sue. We came on the scene when we were PCS'd here with the Air Force in 1988. And on scene means we moved in next door to Joe and Julie, and never forget the first time I saw Joe was the first time that we looked at the house to buy it, and there was a gate between the two lots. And Joe opened the gate with no shirt on and came through the gate and walked into the house. And I turned to the realtor and said, does he come with the house? And that was the beginning of an amazing friendship.
He did come with the house.
He did, thankfully he did. So in typical Air Force fashion, I like to get out of work and hand it off to anybody that I possibly can. And so today I put together 9 qualities, characteristics of Joe that I thought were appropriate. And I've handed out 7 of those 9. I have 2 cards left. And if anyone would like to take a card here, just real quickly before I ask if anyone else wants one of these 2 cards here, but the characteristics that I put together are that Joe is hardworking, warm-hearted. I'm not going to say anything about these right now. Hardworking, warm-hearted, personable, neighborly, friendly, generous, lion-hearted, a jokester, and a family man. And just by way of explanation, I'm not going to really hold anything back. I think one of my strengths is I'm a genuine kind of guy, and so if I feel like crying, I'm going to go ahead and cry a bit. Is that all right with you? And if I want to laugh, I'm going to laugh. Is that okay too? Good. Most of you are nodding okay. Well, if it's not okay, this is too bad. I have a couple of cards left if somebody would like to take them. So what I'm going to do is on the top of the card is kind of like the main heading, the hardworking, warm-hearted. I put a couple of clues down in the card there to kind of help you out. If you want to just say that characteristic, that quality of Joe, you can just do that. I don't put no pressure to embellish. If you have a personal thing that you'd like to say about that, feel free to go ahead and do that, okay? So anybody else want a card?
What do you have left?
Yeah. I
You have left.
warm-hearted. How's that?
That's what I wanted.
Good, perfect. All right, so I'll just kind of name it off, and then if the person who has hardworking would take that one.
That would be me.
It's a little switcheroo there. Mike.
So I have a hardworking, determined, diligent, industrious. That's an understatement. Reliable and on time. Always on time. Joe passed on the crying thing, didn't you? I see how that works. We came on the scene with Mike and Sue. That was '88, you said?
Yeah.
So we came on the scene in '90, and we followed up with Mike and Sue because Mike and I worked together, and I met Joe, and I can tell you it's just like Dad. And I'll pass it on.
And it's okay if you want to, like, yeah, amen, me too, right? You can grab onto that too, right, out loud. If that seems like something you want to do, just be genuine, be yourself too, right? Mike, were you finished?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. So again, you can just read the thing at the top if you want, or you can read the whole card, or you could read the thing at the top and skip the things that are down below, or you can add something personal. It's no pressure. This is totally up to you. So thanks, Mike. Who has warm-hearted?
I do.
Okay.
You have down here good-natured and unselfish. And I just, through my whole life growing up, I just knew Dad literally had a large heart. Wasn't he diagnosed? I don't know. He was diagnosed.
He did. He had a big heart.
He did. And his heart went along.
Literally.
He was
Seriously.
diagnosed with a big heart.
And I just, it totally fit Dad though. Because he would do anything for anybody. I know growing up, he was always there. I remember in driver's ed when you had to change the tire on your car. My friends, their dads just signed it off and didn't make them do it. And Dad said, get out in the garage and change the tire. And I remember one day that my tire went flat and I was on the way to see Ian and I had to pull into the library when I was supposed to be at some work party that he was at, and I called him and said, honey, I got a flat tire, and he goes, okay, I'll be there to help you. I said, no, I got it. I'm gonna put the spare on, I'm gonna go down. And he waited, and I put the spare on, I went down to the tire place, I called Ian, he goes, you need my help, don't you? I said, no, the car's up on the jack, they're fixing it, I'll be there in 10 minutes. You know, that was just Dad, you know, but he would do anything. If he was there, he would have been there to change the tire. And you just knew, you know, we weren't totally huggers and all that stuff, but you could just see it in Dad's eyes for the last few years.
He never met a person he didn't like. I have a story. He used to get calls from people over at Water Gardens to come and fix things. And the one guy called one day and he said, Joe, I don't know whether you have to come over or you can fix this over the phone. He thought, you know, all Joe had to do was say a word and whatever was wrong would be fixed sometimes.
That was just Dad. He just had a heart of gold. And I know 4 years ago, it was like yesterday, when we were at Bob's and he went into cardiac arrest. I remember just seeing him. It's just was so hard, but he made it.
She gave him 4 more years that day.
It was all-
4 more good years.
Just gonna miss him. I'm done.
That's a tough one. Who's got personable?
I do.
Okay.
So, well, I came on the scene 2 years ago, and Julie, I don't know how she found me, but she did, and and I feel like it was meant to be. If somebody was to explain to me, if I had met her after Joe died, there's no way that anybody could ever clarify how Joe was, because knowing him the last 2 years, it's indescribable. I would walk in the house and he'd come out from out in the garage, and he'd call me young lady. Hey there, young lady, how you doing today? And oh my God, he would joke with me and give me a hard time, and I loved every minute of it. When I first got my Harley, he's the very first person I wanted to show, and I was terrified to ride my bike out in the city streets. And Joe's house was my first destination, and I made it, and he was so proud of me, and he was so proud of that bike, and he was one of the nicest men I've ever met, and it says on here that he is amiable, yeah. Likeable. I couldn't read that. And friendly, and that's the understatement. I've never met a nicer man. He treated me like family, and a lot of my clients, they just treat me like the housekeeper, and I never, ever felt like the housekeeper with him. He was just always, him and Julie, they treat me like family, and I can see that with her daughter and son and the grandkids. Everybody, it just warms my heart to be around the whole family. Whenever he would walk in, he would just light up the room, and it's just so indescribable, and I know there will never be another Joe, so that's all.
Awesome. And what was your name?
I'm Kara, sorry.
Kara.
I'm Kara. I don't have any openings, by the way, so.
She's our friend and housekeeper.
I remember Grandpa said that she was family too.
I'm family, yeah.
Yes, she's
He certainly treated me like that. He really did.
Thank you, Kara. Neighborly.
I have that. So under neighborly, you have helpful, considerate, inclusive of all. And you really didn't have to know Joe for him to treat you like a neighbor. And he was truly that. I mean, you meet him and he treated you like he's known you all his life. And instead of neighborly, I would just say he really was family. He was a good man. He loved everybody. And you could see it in everybody he meets. Everybody loved him. He was just a great guy. And we miss him.
Friendly.
You hold this, Jennifer.
That's mine. It says, I've known Joe, I'm with Joey, so I've known Joe for like 30 years now. And friendly, a certain magic effect that made people like him. And there was that, like, this twinkle in his eye and this smile, and you always felt the twinkle could be he was gonna give you a hard time or it was gonna be fun, yeah. I can't really say much, sorry. Just a great guy that always made you feel welcome, and just a genuine smile, and always there were people that just would come up and instantly he was your friend, like, so yeah. I miss him.
Generous.
That's me. My name's Richard. I've only known Joe and Julie, 4 or 5 years, I guess. I came on the scene because I was interested in tractors. That's Joe, Tractor Joe. I could talk about Joe's generosity for hours. Bob and I would go over there several times a week to help Joe work on tractors. And one of the things that we learned, or I learned real quickly, was that Joe would, I mean, if somebody came up with a problem, whether their tractor or anything else, he was there to help, and he would do it. And for people that weren't close or friends, Bob and I would always ask him, why don't you charge them for doing it, you know, the time? And if he had the part, he would just give it to them. And it was over and over and over. I mean, that's a generous heart. I grew up in the church, and we were always told about 1 Corinthians and about love and what is love. And boy, Joe epitomized that. I mean, he was generous almost to a fault. I guess you can't say that's a fault, but we teased each other relentlessly about, you know, you really need to get something for your services, for what you're throwing away or what you're giving to people, you know. And he would sometimes do that, but most of the time he wouldn't. He would just help people out because they needed help. And I mean, what, 4 or 5 years, I seemed like I could make a list this long of all the times he helped people out, whether it was neighbors that just stopped by, they had issues. I'd venture to say that Joe and Jen and Julie probably don't even know half of the stories of where he was helping people out. They would stop and he would help out. He was an example. I mean, I don't know if that was one of the words you had, but we should all be like Joe.
Good. Jokester.
Joe was. He loved to have fun.
Bob would know.
Especially if it was somebody else's expense. Now,
So true.
just an example, Richard here had a lawn tractor he brought over for us to work on. And we finished it, put it outside. Unfortunately, the night it rained, Richard come over to get it. And Joe reaches over and he raps me and he says, don't say anything, don't say anything. Richard goes and sits in the seat. I've never seen a guy get up quite so quick because the seat was full of water. And that was just one example with Joe. I mean, if you worked around water, you wanted to be prepared with Joe. We hooked up the pump on the falls in Water Gardens, and it hadn't been ran for a while. Well, unfortunately, we didn't know that the line was plugged. So Joe puts me out on the little bridge that goes over in front of the waterfalls, and he says, let me know when the water starts running.
God.
So he turns the pump on. Well, it blew the lines apart because the water couldn't go anywhere. It went about 30 feet up in the air, drowned me, and naturally Joe standing there laughing. He says, you want to try it again? And that was just Joe. I mean, he enjoyed having a good time and always did. If he wasn't having a good time, he knew there was something wrong. And that's Joe.